Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktovo, the parent company of GraphicsFlow, Inksoft, and Printavo. Welcome to the webcast today. Today's webcast is dominating the school, team, and sports markets, which is a topic very close to home for me. I've been involved in that world as both a owner of a imprinting business as well as a coach for many, many years. And it's an awesome topic, and I'm really excited to be invited to produce this webcast series with Jennifer. So, hi, Jennifer. What's going on?
Hey, Craig, how are you?
I am excellent.
Good. Thank you so much for doing this series. It is such great information, and you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes in particular to this market. You've got so much experience from both sides of the coin, from the coach side and what the parents want, as well as from what the decorator needs to know. So it's a double whammy win.
Yeah, it's a fun aspect of our business, and it's interesting when I talk to our shared customers. A lot of times is, oh, I don't hassle with the sports market. It's too competitive and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, take the low-hanging fruit. There's some low-hanging fruit. You think about the things that your kids are involved in or your grandkids or neighbors' kids. And, you have a natural association with those people. Take the low-hanging fruit business. You're not going to need to go in and try to compete with the big sporting goods folks. And then also, our business is cyclical, or not cyclical as the word I'd like to use is seasonal.
Yeah.
And, when you're sitting around and the corporate business isn't so great because it's a slow time of the year, like say January, they're getting ready for spring sports. So it's a great way to kind of round out your cash flow throughout the year and having that diversity. So, Jennifer, it's a funny thing. I'll ask clients at trade shows specifically, I say, hey, well, who are your customers? And I'll say, let me guess. And I say, well, either a minority or majority part of your business is schools, teams, and sports. You're probably involved in small local businesses, and you probably have some niche markets you focus on. And what do you think they say?
Oh, they're like, well,
they do. They say, how did you know? And I was like, because that's a really vague question.
Yeah.
So, there's only one variable in there. What percentage of your business is school, teams, and sports? And, I think it's really useful as an apparel decorator to really take a look at your product mix and who your customer mix is, because there's something called the concentration risk. And a concentration risk is if, that putting all your eggs in one basket thing, having some supplementary business that can kind of round things out is really smart. What are some of your insights into just having a well-rounded business? What are your thoughts on that?
One thing we learned early on with our business was you can't just focus on your hometown. You have to also look at all the surrounding communities and have the information, the colorways, the athletes, the mascots, the different school names for the elementary schools versus the middle schools versus the junior highs and the high schools. Because we're a Stowe Bulldog, that's our mascot, but there's the Lakeview Lions, that's the middle school. And then there's there's 7 different elementary schools in our school system. And each one of them has their own colors, their own mascot, their own team names. And so everybody kind of goes straight to the big known market of the high school.
Right.
And they forget there's all these younger students that are athletes in training to come on up into the high school sports, and there's club sports, and there's rec ball, and it's this great big hairy monster that you can really sink your business into and become kind of the go-to business for not just your town, but all the towns around you. And you can really make a big difference in your bottom line.
Yeah, 100%. It was interesting. I was talking to a client a few years back, and I asked her who her business focus was, she goes, Craig, my biggest thing is Little League baseball. And I was like, the uniforms? And she goes, no, I don't deal with any of the users. It's all the spirit wear. She goes, you look at an average, Little League team, and what is there, 15 kids on it? And, of those 15 kids, how many parents, how many grandparents, how many aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters? The market is so much wider for the fan gear. And she says, for me, she found it was kind of an underserved market. And so she started doing a lot of kind of fan gear, glitter vinyl and bling and all the kind of things that, overbearing parent of a amateur 7-year-old athlete would be into. And it just grew into quite a business. And then she started opening up web stores and really became a thing. And then she said, hey, listen, don't tell anybody else about this market segment. I think it's pretty well known.
Yeah.
but in
Yeah,
your area,
I have nieces and nephews who both went from elementary school through paid college, paid athletes to go to school for free. So I mean, it's a lifetime commitment by those families. And I don't know how many Diamond Dust shirts I had. I know I had a couple dozen of them by the time my son was done with ball. So
I keep all those shirts. They're like a mementos to me. They're like, they're the trophy for what we go through as parents supporting.
Yeah, you survived this tournament and that flood and that blizzard. And remember when the car broke down on the way here? Remember when we got the hotel and they didn't have a reservation and they were booked? It's family history.
Absolutely. And the wearables connected to that are just such a great memento from those times. I have all my old track and cross country shirts from when I was in high school. And my daughters were like, Dad, these are really cool retro t-shirts. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. Can we have them? Because they're not going to fit you. Yeah, well, that's pretty obvious. But I made a deal with them. I said, listen, you guys can wear them, but you can't ever donate them to, Goodwill or put them away because they have meaning to me. And, I'll still go and visit my daughters in Portland and they'll be knocking around the house wearing one of my old high school shirts. It's really kind of a fun thing. One of the things that you mentioned that I think is really important is not seeing yourself as like a local type of business. And I'll give this is a funny story. I was talking to a client and she called me about something unrelated. I can't remember, but I'm always asking people how they're doing. And she says, well, I'm not doing great. And I go, what's going on? She goes, I just don't have a lot of business coming in. And as soon as she said that, I was like, coming in. So like my thinking was like, oh, she's just waiting for business to come to her. So I asked her, I said, what are you doing to go out and get business? She goes, well, nothing. We just have people, we have a brick and mortar and, small town Main Street, USA, and people just come into our shop. And, so I said, you're kind of like a restaurant, right? Like location, location, location. If you don't have people traveling in to order, you don't sell any food. She's like, well, I never really thought about it like that. And I said, well, here, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. She's like, what? I said, you think of yourself as a local business because you have a brick and mortar, but you're actually a virtual business because you also have a website. And I said, draw a map and just, draw a circle around your building 5 miles out, and then list out the schools and athletic, opportunities and things that are within that 5 mile, and then go out another 15 and then go out another 50. And you'll be surprised at how many potential customers there are out there. But you're going to have to go out and hustle to get them. They're not going to come to you. And she goes, we got off the phone. It was really fun. And she goes, so basically what you just told me to do is get off my butt and go and hustle up some business. And I said, well, you put it into those words, but yes, that's what I'm telling you to do. And that's the one. Yeah.
This is there. You have to go get it, but it is there. The money is standing on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah. And you know what? There's situations also where your competition is maybe complacent and they're vulnerable. And if you go out and hustle a little bit and, hey, we're the new operation in town. And especially, small people like to buy local, right? So if you're a small business and you position yourself as the, kind of the local, or regional resource, I think most folks would prefer to do business with somebody within their own state or community versus a big impersonal, company out of state or whatever. So I'm glad we had a kind of chance to kind of set the table for the class today. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen. So today's webcast, the topic is going to be dominate the school and team sports market with graphics. And, I've kind of put it in the slide here, enthusiasm for sports drives apparel sales. So, if people didn't care about the success or failure of their student athletes, probably wouldn't be buying a lot of swag. And, it's funny, my wife is a football fan and she's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And I noticed there was a little flurry of activity on Amazon after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. And then the swag started floating in. And really is that spirit of enthusiasm for supporting, whether it's our student athletes or our kids or our favorite pro team or college teams, that really drives the sales and the apparel graphics. I have some unique background on that because my parents owned the University of Arizona and Arizona State off-campus spirit stores when I was in high school and in college. And their business was absolutely predicated on Arizona State going to the Rose Bowl and the University of Arizona going to a Final Four, and then also winning a Final Four a few years later. That just drove all of their sales. It was just astronomical growth. So not everybody's going to be able to get involved in a national championship with the Spiritware store, but it's that enthusiasm and support for the teams that drives all the sales. And so we're going to explore framework in class about maximizing sales into this market. And I want to teach you how to generate revenue for your favorite school or sports teams using a proven prospecting strategy. And that strategy is around graphics. So we're going to learn how to identify buyers and key decision makers, and how to engage buyers and decision makers in the creative process, how to create relevant graphics that emulate the major retail brands and connect with buyers, and how to compete with traditional screen printers using sophisticated graphics capability and custom heat transfers. So we're going to go through a whole prospecting campaign. And a lot of times when you're in that market, that school teams and sports market, you are, competing against some of the bigger companies and some of the national companies and folks that have sophisticated equipment and screen printing equipment and things like that. We can be very competitive competing against those folks without having to be a screen printer. And we're going to talk about how you can leverage digital heat transfers into that market. So the team, school, and sports markets comprise the largest audience of sales in the decorated apparel and personalized products industry. It's the biggest group of sales, and that also makes it one of the most competitive markets in our industry. And so you're going to always have to get creative to counter the competition. It's certainly not an area that you can be complacent. And I think graphics is certainly one of the areas where you can absolutely, leverage creativity to create things that just look better and that get coaches and parents and people that are in position to make purchasing decisions excited about what you're doing versus what they've been getting from local vendors. It was interesting. I had a client that it was a while back, and we went to the same high school, and she said, "Hey, I'd really like to get in to the Chaparral Booster Club. Do you have any connections there?" And I go, not really. I've been out of high school for many years, but I said, I can help you with the graphics side of things. And I go to the football games, so I know what they got going on as far as the Booster Club swag. And it says it's not great. And so I helped him out with some graphics. And this was during the height of the rhinestone thing. And we did some rhinestone graphics and some glitter vinyl, kind of over the top type stuff. And she presented it to the Booster Club, and she got a nice chunk of business out of that, just by being a little bit more creative. And frankly, the company with the best looking graphics is going to win in the marketplace. You're targeting markets that are, youth sports, booster clubs, school sports, and leisure sports. And I'm going to put like pickleball and cornhole into the leisure sports group loosely, but those are some of the fastest growing sports in our country. And also band. People don't think of band as a sport, or even cheerleading. Cheerleading is a sport. Band is not really a sport, but it's in that same classification for spirit and enthusiasm. And the marching band specifically is the largest youth organization at most high schools. So there's more kids involved in marching band than anything else. So that's certainly on that group here. This photo, this is our local high school football and sports dynasty, Swaro Sabercats. And they have a pretty strong swag game going on. One of our customers is one of the key suppliers for that school. And so one of the things that's always a little bit tricky is identifying the buyers and key decision makers. And, you hear that expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And everybody has those great connections, but it's not that hard to do a little bit of research. And I did a Google search for Saguaro High School athletic department staff, and boom, look what little web page came up. And here's all of the coaches and all the folks that are involved in all the sports. And some of the sports even have their own little sub websites, like baseball has their own website, beach volleyball has their own website. Imagine beach volleyball in high school. How cool is that? So, being able to do a little bit of research and create whether you're using a CRM software or even something as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, and of a target list of people that you want to prospect to. And what you really need, obviously phone number is great, person's name, their title, what their involvement is, but email is the most important thing. And not every school will publish the faculty sponsor or the coach's email, but they will have an email submission form on their website where you can contact the coaches. But most of them will also provide emails. So being able to identify those key decision makers just by doing a little bit of savvy internet searching on either the organization's website or a sub website of the school. Like Swirl, this is their athletics website. It's not even part of the school district's website. Also, you always have the option to go to the school office and introduce yourself. They'll all have a roster of who all the different people, a little sheet. You can ask for that and say, hey, listen, do you have a little contact sheet for all the people involved in all the, school team sports activities? That also includes things like, drama club and key club and, all the things that are going on in the school. It's not just about sports as well. And that's where you can put together a little flyer, drop off a flyer, maybe even drop off a sample and give that to the person at the front desk and say, hey, here's a little sample. Can you make sure that you get this flyer into the boxes for these particular people on this list? Or obviously a business card with maybe even a little handwritten note. And also, don't be afraid to pick up the phone. I know it's a scary little thing these days to pick up the phone. You're not necessarily going to get somebody on the phone, but you can leave a message and say, hey, coach, this is, Craig, and I'm calling from Craig's Creations, and I'm a local vendor here in town. We have a full service graphics capability. I'm going to put some ideas together for you. I'm going to send you a little link to some graphics, and just want to give you a heads up to look for it. And if you're interested in finding out more, here's my email, or you can respond to the email that I'm sending out. Just to kind of get some visibility on your communication. Leaving a voicemail message is awesome. And you know what? Sometimes you just get people on the phone. That's the craziest deal ever when you call somebody and they actually pick up. So, and then network with your friends and acquaintances. And, I don't think this is controversial. I think everyone should be reaching out to their friends and acquaintances. What better opportunity do you have for, selecting and finding potential clients than the people that are within your immediate sphere, right? So if you're talking to your friend that owns maybe they own a small local business, and maybe you're doing the swag for them, and it's, hey, are your kids in sports or involved in any school activities? Yeah, they are. So, oh, hey, listen, we do that as well. So maybe you can help me connect with the faculty sponsor. Or oh yeah, that's Bob. Let me text Bob real quick, and I'll get you guys all connected, or connect through LinkedIn. That's another great way to do it. Using your corporate customers for referrals. I think that's one of the best way to get involved in the school market is talking to your corporate customers and asking them the question, are your kids, or do you know anybody in your, kind of sphere that's involved in this market? We're trying to crack into that. What a great way to do it. So engage buyers in a creative process. What do I mean by that? If you get your buyer involved in selecting and modifying and customized graphics, they have to get those graphics through you. And one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to take a passive approach where people are, going to the internet and finding things, because then that takes the whole sales process out of your control, and they can also find other vendors. So by kind of leading with graphics in a prospecting campaign, it's a great way to get, kind of your ideas in front of your customers. If you collaborate with the buyer and they pick out graphics that you develop, where they have to buy it from? They have to buy it from you. And you're conditioning also your clients to rely on you as a creative resource. I had a client, and I was talking to her a while back, and Allison is somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and she was on one of our live webcasts, and the question that came up on the webcast is, what do you do when a customer says they can get it cheaper somewhere else? And she said, hey, listen, I tell them, listen, you might be able to, you're thinking apples to apples, but if you go to another vendor, what you're not going to have access to me is my creativity. And the reason that your products sell well and do well is because they look great, because I'm very creative and I come up with all these great graphics programs for you. So if you want to, turn this into a commodity and go out there and try to source it cheaper, you're not going to get my creativity, and you certainly don't have the rights to use the graphics I've created for you. And I was like, wow, what a great response. I put it in, bold there. Do not send your clients to the internet to research graphics. If you have the ability to send them to your site, that's even better. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but sending your clients to the internet to find graphics, if that's the only way that you have for them to collaborate with you on graphics, it's just an invitation for them to find your competitors. And we really want to try to avoid that at all costs. And then when I talk to customers that say that's what they're doing, I cringe. I just cringe. And I'll say something like, hey, did you notice that, that one customer you're doing business with for a long time, all of a sudden they dropped off the face of the earth? Well, the reason they dropped off the face of the earth is they found another vendor. So we don't want to make that part of finding a vendor easier for them. Be proactive, get ideas in front of your customers and scoop the competition. The time to sell the state championship t-shirts to your local vendor or your local high school isn't the day after the kids clinch the state championship. It's a week or two before, where you've set up the graphics in advance. You've gotten the graphics in front of the buyers, whether it's the booster club. You've placed contingency orders where if the team wins, that you start producing right away. If they lose, you just, cancel the order. That's the way to get, scoop the competition, so to speak, is, the graphics are a big part of that. And the reason I know that is when we had our company, Desert Sportswear, our collegiate marketing company, college football bowl business was one of the biggest parts of our business, especially during that fall season. And we'd have all the orders locked up for weeks in advance of the games. And if the team won, that was great. We start producing. If the team lost, we'd take those orders and put them straight into the trash can. Sample sell. There's no substitute for laying a physical sample on a buyer. And if you want to make one investment in your business, if you're trying to prospect for new customers, create a local community graphic for your community, something fun about your city or even your state with a cool graphic on it. Print a bunch of those up. And then when you're, talking to these buyers, or maybe you're out pounding the pavement a little bit, drop off a sample. It shows the customer that you're serious about their business and you're serious about helping the community out. It really creates that local tie-in. And I think that's one of the smarter things that you can do as an apparel decorator is produce some samples. It's one of the very best forms of advertising and most, I would say, highest rate of conversion in terms of what you spend. You spend $5 on a t-shirt, you give out 20 t-shirts and you close one deal. You've made money on that. So you don't need a high return in order to be successful on that basis. Emulating retail graphic trends. So we've all done this. We've all kind of been out in the public and we've seen some outstanding graphic. And, my wife gets very irritated with me if I try to take a clandestine photo of some really cool t-shirt graphic. But like if I'm in the store and I see a cool t-shirt graphic, I do that. I take a clandestine photo of the shirt on the rack. I don't do it of people, obviously, but yeah, I've taken lots and lots of photos of shirts on racks over the years because it's just great. It's an inspiration for ideas. And, if you can produce graphics at that same level, then, you've really established yourself as something pretty special. So, why do I take pictures of those graphics? Because I want to use that as inspiration for our art department so they can kind of see what's going on in the marketplace. And we're not copying those graphics, but we're using that as just kind of a basis of putting things together, so to speak, as inspiration. So big companies, if you're looking at the Adidas's and Nikes and Under Armour's of the world, they have, huge budgets for research and development. They do focus groups. They do all kinds of things in order to tailor in their graphics. Fanatics is another one. So you can capitalize on all the research and development they've done just by seeing what they're doing in the marketplace. Go online, go to the bookstores for the big universities, go to the Fanatics website, go to Nike's website, see what's going on and see what those trends are in terms of the graphical styles, fonts, colors, design elements, all of that. That's what our art department does every single month. In fact, I just got an email this morning and wanted me to kind of review some ideas we're already building out artwork into January. And we wanted to look at some spring sports artwork for January. And I liked most of what I saw and some I didn't, and give some valuable feedback. And they're like, okay, appreciate that. So that's, part of our process for creating stock graphics is looking at the trends in the marketplace. Using customizable stock designs to jumpstart your creativity. Not everyone's great at graphics, but if you have a team behind you that's really good at graphics and they come out with new graphics every month and do all that research and enables you to emulate these trends, that'd be pretty cool. That's what GraphicsFlow does. That's what really one of the core tenets of our GraphicsFlow technology. Sample sell, get ideas in front of your buyers to show them you're a creative resource. And again, I think that's self-explanatory, but whether it's a virtual sample or a physical sample, that's just such a great way to kind of set yourself apart from the competition. So we're going to get into customizable stock graphics here. I'm going to kind of walk you through like a typical prospecting campaign, but a stock graphic is just that. It's pre-produced. It's an editable design that you can easily customize, whether you're using Adobe Illustrator or CorelDRAW or In our case, we can edit all of these designs using what's called the Stock Art Customizer, which is part of the GraphicsFlow platform. But what are some of the advantages of a customizable stock design? You control the sales process, so everything comes through you. You don't have the cost of custom art development. You're establishing value for your creative services, and clients are learning to lean on you for ideas. It makes it easier for your clients to buy from you and shuts out the competition. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that's a win for everybody, shutting the competition out. Ensures that graphics are production ready, so they're ready to go to your process, whether it's setting a file up for embroidery or vinyl graphics or sublimation or sending it out to get a transfer made. And then you also don't have to worry about potential copyright issues, because the artwork that you're utilizing, guess what? It's artwork that you're licensed to use. It's not things that you're just absconding with from the internet, and have to worry about, whether or not you have the right to use that mascot that looks identical to XYZ professional sports franchise. We want to avoid that. So also reducing your production time so you can respond quickly, kind of like what we were talking about in that hypothetical about a state championship, right? So let's see here. So outcompete traditional screen printers with custom heat transfers. So the exercise that I'm going to go through when we create the graphic, I'm going to set up the graphic for a digital heat transfer. And so one of the things that's really exciting about the current marketplace is there's a new heat transfer technology that we're seeing that's called direct to film. And there's another one similar, which is called hybrid digital heat transfers. Direct to film is where you're using a inkjet printer to print onto polyester film. It's coated with a adhesive. It goes through a drying unit, and you've created a transfer that you can do on lighter darks. Hybrid digital transfers are a little bit different. They use an offset printer to print onto the actual plastic heat transfer material, and then they screen print the white underbase. Then they put the hot melt and cure it. So the company Supercolor, which is a very popular company in our industry, uses the hybrid digital heat transfer process, and this is one of my favorite transfers. So if you're an embroiderer and you're trying to compete with that local screen printer, you can do these hybrid digital transfers or direct to film transfers, and I know a lot of you are doing them, and you can produce things that the screen printer can't. Photorealistic type designs, low minimum order quantities. A lot of our clients will focus these heat transfers on what we would call a premium decoration process, better than screen printing. And I can personally attest that the direct to film wearables that I have, especially the ones from Supercolor, will outperform any screen printing process in terms of wash durability. And it's not even close. I have shirts that I've watched 20 or 30 times with Supercolor transfers on them, and they look like the day that I first got them. It's great. Also learning the puppy dog close, closing by laying samples on your clients. You're seeing that as a theme, producing some extra, like we talked about, that community awareness type of graphic, and just here's a transfer. This is our quality. Make sure you go home and wash this a couple times to see what the wash durability is going to be like. And consider stocking transfers and printing on demand, collected deposit for bulk transfers. What does that mean? If you're doing a program, let's say you've got an event that you're going to be working on, you can get some transfers made up in advance. You're going to sell most of them, and you can do a pre-sale for the event, and then you can also do the pressing at the event, or pre-press some inventory before the event. And if you got transfers left over, you can run a little sale after the event on Facebook or through an e-commerce site and say, hey, listen, we still have some excess inventory. We're doing 50% off, and here's the styles and quantities. So a transfer gives you all that flexibility to do that, whether you're waiting till all the orders are placed or you're stocking some transfers and doing a fulfillment program. And low minimums, these transfer companies, like a company like Supercolor, it's a 20-piece minimum. So, you're not having to step up and do big quantities. So a big part of the process that I'm teaching you today can be done utilizing custom heat transfers. So that's just a good place to get started. So successful prospecting campaign. Focus on the graphics, not the products. Product is secondary. We're going to get the customer to fall in love with the graphic first, and then we're going to come back and help them to pick out the product. And then we're going to make strong recommendations as to the product mix that we're going to put them into. So narrow the scope of the graphics, choose top sellers, tailor the graphics to the organization. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And so going into a little bit of research on the group that you're targeting, so you really understand what the colors that they're using. Their colors might be, red, black, and gray, but they really don't use a lot of the gray. They use white instead. You'd know that if they were on their website. So when you produce the graphics, you want to do something that ties into what their branding looks like and their colors that they're using. And you'd know by then what mascot they use, or if they use a mascot at all. So complicated is not always better. In the school team at Sports Market, a lot of times the simpler type graphics, like you see with that cross-country graphic there, simple, clean with a singular design element. Those are, the types of things that you're going to see from Nike, Reebok, and Under Armour. It's not always going to be this over-the-top, really complex, multicolor stuff. A lot of times it's 2, 3, maybe 4 colors with simple design elements. And, your personal taste is irrelevant. What you want to sell is what's proven in the marketplace and ideas that mirror the professional and collegiate teams. So maybe you don't like rhinestones, but you're selling to a cheer organization. So they still like rhinestones, even in that particular part of the world. It's market segment. It's still as popular as it ever was. And then setting up an online pitch store to showcase your program. We'll actually show you how to do that, where you actually set up a web store, e-commerce populated with products and graphics, to say, hey, listen, this is what we're capable of doing for you guys. And all you got to do is give us a thumbs up and we'll make the store live and we'll give you guys a percentage of the profits. And bear in mind, the biggest audience is the fans, not the players. So you have a much greater opportunity of selling merchandise to the moms, the dads, the aunts, the uncles, the sisters, the friends, and all the people associated with the organization or athlete or group than you do the actual participants. So we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to show you how I would set up a kind of a prospecting campaign. And so what I've done here is I've logged into my GraphicsFlow account, and GraphicsFlow is an online application. And in its purest form, it's a depository of stock art content. You can do a lot of other things besides that, but you have a massive selection of designs to choose from. And you could, if you wanted to, and you're using Illustrator or CorelDRAW, you could just go over here and download this file with live text and edit it in Adobe Illustrator or CorelDRAW, but you don't have to do that. You can actually edit these files in the cloud. And in addition to all these production-ready design templates, we have vector clip art. So if you just needed a cool tiger mascot, you can just type in tiger. And in fact, you can actually edit this clip art here before you even download it. So if I wanted to download this into Corel or Illustrator or Inkscape or Affinity Design or whatever my program is, if I just wanted to see what the colors were going to look like in the clip art, I can just go over here and do a quick little update on this before I even download it. So all these files are downloadable, whether it's clip art or design templates and also fonts. If you want cool graphics, especially for apparel graphics, you need to have cool fonts. And so when people sign up for GraphicsFlow, there's 560 fonts, and you download a single archive of those fonts and install those, and those will show up in all of your programs, including if you have an embroidery program that happens to work with TrueType or OpenType fonts. So that's a kind of an added benefit. One of the things I always like to point out is, we have a huge variety of fonts that were designed specifically for apparel decoration, including a lot of our industry standard athletic fonts that you see out in the marketplace. But one of the things that's really popular is these handwritten scripty fonts. And we have I don't have to count them all up, but I know there's at least 75 of these. And if you go and buy people go and buy these on like Etsy, and they're $15 a piece. So we've got a huge quantity of just really great fonts that are part of GraphicsFlow. And so these are the fonts that are used in the design templates, but they're also fonts that you can just download and use to create your own graphics. Maybe you just want to create some word art where it's just a simple phrase or something, or a name, and maybe even just a simple piece of clip art. You have all these fonts to work with here as well. So you just download, install the font master set. So if I was going to create a graphic for somebody, what I would do is, first of all, I'd be focused more on, if it's we're going to do something for baseball, right? I'm not as concerned about the subject matter as I am about the style. I want to focus on a style, because any one of these designs, I could make this design right here into a baseball design. All I have to do is take the mountains out and put a baseball diamond in there. So any design can be anything. So I'm going to focus, when I'm coming up with ideas for customers, I'm going to focus on style and not particular subject matter. So one of the things I could do, if I was going to do like something that was around patches, I could go in and just select patches. And by the way, these are great for embroidery as well. Or if you're doing applique, and I could just say, hey, let's take a look at some patch layouts. And maybe I just like this simple layout right here. I can change this to have it say whatever I want. It doesn't have to say welding fabrication. The text is just a placeholder. And the clip art, and for that sense, is just the placeholder as well. But I could also go down here, and if I was really wanted to focus more on sports, I could just say, hey, let's just do athletic looking designs. Or maybe I'm thinking baseball, but I want to, I type in baseball designs, but then just for grins, I'm like, hey, maybe there's a softball design that'll work good. So we've got all kinds of cool baseball designs in here. But just for grins, let me add softball and see if I find something that I like. And hey, this looks great. So this will look awesome with baseball. And I just have to change the colors of the softball here. So make sure it's not that kind of bright yellow, green, fluorescent color that people use so often. So what I'm going to do here is once I've selected the design, I'm going to select Customize. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the modifications to the design. And so these are files that were originally created in Adobe Illustrator and in CorelDRAW. So there's a duplicate set of these files in GraphicsFlow, which I could just download the Corel version, or I could just download the Illustrator version if I used Adobe. But I can edit those same files, including all the fonts, in the GraphicsFlow application without opening them up in a Pro Graphics program. And anyone in your organization can do this. It's not hard at all. And in fact, I'll just go over here, and where it says 20XX, I'll change that to 23. I'll hit enter. And then where it says Eagles, I'm going to change that to Cougars. Hit enter. This is a multi-layer text effect. So I want to change both layers. So that's what's giving it that cool shadowing effect. Where it says softball, I'm going to change this to baseball. Hit enter. And same thing here. And I can move things around, add things, delete things. If I wanted to see what it looked like with, the ribbon turned off, we can turn off the ribbon. I think the ribbon really helps this design. So we're going to turn that back on. And then at this point, that's a pretty funny looking eagle. So let's just hit edit. And let's swap that eagle out with the cougar. So we're going to come down here. I'm going to type in cougar, hit enter, and then I can select different cougars to see which one I want. I'll just click on this one. And the cougar is just going to replace out the eagle there. And I'll hit apply. And then I want to consolidate the colors in the clip art to match the colors in the template. So before I go back to the full design, it'd be smart just to go over here and make this color the burgundy. That's already in the template. Make this color, in this case, white. Going to kind of knock this color down a little bit. Make this color white. So I've recolored the clip art independent of the template, and now I can just make global changes. So if I came down here and I was like, okay, so let us take have some fun with this. So I'm going to take the burgundy, and I'm going to make that navy. Try that, see how that looks. Yeah, it looks good. And then I'm going to take kind of the old gold here, and I'm going to make it this kind of nice deep red. Looking good. And this color right here, I could either make that white, or I can make that red too. It's kind of up to me. Try something different. Let's make it white, like a baseball. There's white in the graphics. We'll just select it over here. Yep, and then let's go back to our little cougar guy here. And we can change this to that same red. Bet you it looks great. Yeah, it does look great. So we'll hit apply. So we're getting there. And then over here, what I want to do is I want to reverse the colors out a little bit over here where it has that gold. So what I want to do is I want to make, in this version of the Cougars right here, which has the navy, I want to make this navy white. Okay, and then I want to make this white navy. We're just reversing them. Whoop. Opposite. We'll make it white. Then this part will be navy. Yeah, looks good. Actually, you know what? Let's make that red. That way it'll kind of match the color scheme. Perfect. And then over here where we got that gold outline, let's make that the navy. There's the navy in the design. And you notice it's telling us this is a 3-color graphic now. So that's how easy it is to make graphics. 1, 2, 3. So if you're sending this off to get a screen printed transfer made, they're going to be really happy about this because guess what? They don't have to go in and color separate this. This is already color separated for screen printing. We download the production file, we're ready to go. If we're going to send this off to have a digital heat transfer to somebody like, say, Supacolor, they're going to be kind of surprised when they get the artwork because they can just go to transfers. There's no extra steps that they're going to have to make to get this ready for production. So once we've got this graphic made, what we're going to do is I'm going to save the design. I'm going to save it to a folder in my GraphicsFlow account. Just hit save so it's nice and securely stored in the cloud. I can go back and access this and share it with whoever I want. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to download, if I'm going to edit this in Corel further, I'm going to download the Corel version. If I'm going to edit it in as a PDF file or in Adobe Illustrator or any of the other vector programs like Inkscape or Affinity Designer or Silhouette, I'm going to download either the PNG or the PDF file. PDF is vector, PNG is a bitmap. And then we'll just call this Cougars Baseball 2023. So we've created this design. And so now that we've created this design, we want to get it in front of the customer. So what we can do is we can just say add to art approval. I'll create a new art approval and we'll call it Cougars Baseball. (2023). And we just created a web page right there. So we just created a web page and we can share that web page with the customer. But just going over here to art approvals, pages right here. And if we want to add some other artwork in there, we can. So I'm going to come over here and change the background color to like a gray. I'm doing this right in the cloud. I don't have to do this in a local software. And if I want, I have other variations of this design I've already produced. I can go add those too, because I can just go over here and say, hey, either add some stock designs from GraphicsFlow or add some artwork from my art. Maybe have another variation over here. And let's see here with another colorway. Yeah, here's one where it's kind of reversed out. There's that one. And then there's another completely different design I could add in there. I did this one the other day. This was kind of fun. Kind of had a 3D chisel effect right here. And this is for a different sport, but you guys getting kind of the general idea. So this is how we create ideas and get them in front of the customer. And I'm going to move this one to the top. And this one right here, I'll put that on, we'll delete this one because we're not doing cross country. So we'll delete that one. But this one, I'll put that one on the darker background. So we'll do more of a, not quite a charcoal, but really a deep, kind of a deep gray there. So there we go. We've just created a web page with the graphics. And you know what I can do? I can put descriptions in here. Anything I want the buyer to see, we can put that in there. And then the other thing is to share it with them. All I got to do is go over here and just say share. And I can either use our email system by putting in an email and sending it through our system with a link to the page, or better than that, I'll do a shareable link. Because if I do a shareable link, I can put it into my own email or text message, and I can actually govern the interactivity that the buyer is going to have with the page. So I can say view only, they can only look at the page. Comment, meaning they can view and comment on the page, and I'll get a notification if they make a comment via email and also in the app, or comment and approve. And so I'm just going to do a commenting link because I'm using this for prospecting. And if I wanted to, I could create a mock-up like in Corel, or if I have a mock-up software, and add that in here too. But I don't really want to create a mock-up yet because we're not talking about product yet. We just want to get them hooked on the graphics. Once we get them hooked on the graphics, then we'll kind of go to the product phase. So I have this little link for those of you that are on the live. I'm going to put this link in the chat, and you can actually go here and make comments if you want. So you can go in and drop a comment in here, and I'll get notified in the app if you want to. So this is how we collaborate with the customer on the artwork. So I can send this page out to the buyer and say, hey, listen, coach, this is put some ideas together for you for the upcoming baseball season, a couple different variations of the graphic. If you want to take a look at it and give me some feedback, I'm more than happy to customize it. Maybe they end up choosing this one instead because they like the colors with the white cougar. They put a comment in here. We finalize the artwork, and guess what? Now we've gotten the artwork out of the way. We can focus on the next phase, which is getting it quoted. And they know they can only get that artwork through you. There's no other way to get it. So one of the other ways we can interact with the customer is through what's called an art portal. And every GraphicsFlow Elite member and all the NNEP people, if you sign for GraphicsFlow, you're going to be on Elite memberships because we have a deal for you on that. If I go over here to Art Portal and I hit Manage Settings, this is how we set our portal up. So an Art Portal is, we're dynamically creating a web page where people can look at design ideas, clip art fonts, and I can govern what parts I want them to be able to look at. I can put little showcases in my Art Portal if I want to focus on specific types of artwork. I can also assign any kind of notifications from like our contact form to go to a specific person, or design requests to go to a person or multiple people if I want to. And I can set my color scheme in here. I can set up like what I want it to say on my portal. I can do all of that. And once the portal's set up, it's going to look like this. And also you can embed this in your website if you want to, where it's seamlessly embedded. This allows the customer to go in and select artwork and submit it for customization. So they can go in the little form and say, hey, can you change this to this, this, and this? And they add it to a little submittal, hit submit, they send it to me, I get an art request, and right in GraphicsFlow, I can go in and start editing the design. So I created an Inksoft store, very simple to create a store. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that graphic we just did and I'm going to add it to a couple products. And so what I did is I'm in my Inksoft account, I'm in this particular store, and I'm in a function called Style Editor where I can set up the actual look and feel. I added a ticker here for a countdown for, store closes in 43 days. I already built a bunch of products out into this one, but let's add some new products with the graphic that we just did. So I'm going to go to Store Admin, and I'm going to say Create New. And I'm going to create a featured product. So I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to select it in navy blue. So we'll select it in navy, and we'll do solid navy as opposed to a heathered navy right here. So we'll hit done, and then we'll select that, and here's the graphic right here. We can put it on there, but here's the thing, I can do a colorways. So I can go over here and create a new colorways and reverse out the colors. So what we're going to do is take the gray and make that navy. And then the white, what are we going to do with the white? Well, gray will be fine, actually. I think we're going to be good. So I'm going to save my colorway. And so we'll have different colorways on each one of the products. So on the navy one, it's going to be this colorway. And then on the ash one, it's going to be this colorway. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create these two products. And I'm going to put my pricing in. So I'll say product details. And I can determine what color shows first in my little thumbnail, but we'll go ahead and put our pricing in. And I'm going to put this in at, this is going to be like a bargain t-shirt, $20 retail. Because what we're going to do is when we set up these stores, this is going to be a store that is a rev share store. So having the pricing is somewhat irrelevant. We're going to set a retail price and we're going to pay a revenue share back to the school or the organization. And this is where this is brilliant. You do not have to go through a PO process to do this. You get paid up front. So when you initiate a store like this with a school and you're used to going through the official channels and having to get a PO and wait around forever to get paid, No, you're just going to do a store, and you're going to say, hey, listen, we're going to give you 20 to 30% of the revenue from the store. You guys, we're going to run the store for a period of time. We're going to shut the store down, collate all the orders, print it, deliver everything to you guys in bulk. Then you can get it out to the, kids, or if you prefer, we can ship directly to your, people that place the order, but, we charge a fee for that. So it's kind of up to you. So that is the basic process. So let's add that to our store. So I just went over here to the style editor, super easy to add it. I'll just go over here and say plus, and I'll add a featured product. So we'll add a featured product there. And then we'll link that featured product to the shirt that we just set up. So we just set this up right here, and we'll just add it, and we'll say done. And then what I want to do with this is actually move it up to the top. So I can just go over here and then just drag and drop it probably right underneath the ticker here. So we'll drop it right there, hit done. And there you go. Now there's my product. So if they want to place an order, all I have to do is just click on this and place the order. I like the kind of the color scheme that we got going on with the school colors. Super easy to go in and, change the color layout. Like if I wanted to make this, I actually like it red, but maybe the ticker, let's go with the ticker and make the ticker background the blue instead of that way it kind of alternates a little bit. And let's publish the store out. That's how easy it is to do a store in Inksoft. It's crazy. And I noticed I didn't have to go digging around for the product photography. It was all there. It'll automatically calculate the pricing based on how my pricing formula is set up. And now let's take this store, and then you guys, I'll put the link to this store. And let's be careful. This is a live store tied to a merchant account. So don't be purchasing anything here. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat as well for those of you that are on the live. There we go. So that's how easy it is to set up stores. So why do I set up a store? This is your pitch store. Can you imagine going to a buyer and you've already set up a store like this, or have a store for one of the other local schools, and you're showing them this, and your competitor is like, yeah, we can come up with something, and you're like, hey, listen, let me send you a link to a store I put together for you. All I really need from you is a thumbs up, and we can go live. And so let's talk about some of the advantages of doing a web store. And I took some notes on this. These are some of my best secrets for doing online stores. So I'm going to share these with you guys so you have some ideas of some kind of right and wrong things to do. So when you're doing online stores, what you're doing is selling convenience. If you look at the majority of purchases, and the industry's really shifted very much towards online purchasing, you're seeing that people prefer to order on their phone or their tablet, not even their computer anymore. So when you're doing the store, is convenient. Nobody has to do paper order forms. The buyer can just simply post to Instagram, Facebook, send out a dedicated email, linking right directly to this. One of the things that our customers will do that's really smart, we're actually doing this for the trade show at GraphicsFlow in Indianapolis. We're actually making stickers, and on the back of the sticker is a QR code that directs them to a landing page on our website. But you can do the same thing. You create a sticker on the back of the sticker, the little liner sheet on the sticker, print a QR code, and they scan, they go right directly to this little web store. You could do that with a card as well, but it's just a postcard would be a good way to do it. But this is just a easy way to do it. And you know what? Your client isn't having to deal with the money. They're just collecting a check. We're replacing the old school order form. They're not having to do all the, mistakes, and the kids are collecting money for the organization. It's so much easier. And then you get reporting and tracking. So at any time you can take a peek at your store. You can see how much revenue it's generated. With Inksoft, you have a customer portal, so you can give them access to see how their store's doing, see their order histories, or do reorders if they want to. So the customer's getting all those metrics for retargeting and even upselling. And you know what? People will order more through a store than they will a bulk order. It's proven. If you give somebody an option of, hey, let's get a t-shirt order together and do a bulk order, or let's go to the store, they'll just order more. I didn't think of a hoodie. No, this is, I didn't realize you had this on a hoodie. Let's do the t-shirt and the hoodie. Oh, wow, that Richardson hat looks really cool too. So you'll sell more. You can react immediately to market opportunities. So if there's a championship or something that's going on, homecoming, you can immediately pop that graphic into the store, and boom, you're rocking and rolling. You get paid as the orders are being processed. That's one of the biggest advantages of one of these stores. You're not having to give credit terms. You're getting paid and you're giving them a revenue share, and you're doing the end around on a PO process for a school, which is one of the very best reasons to do stores. You're not competing on price because you're setting the retail price and you're just paying a revenue share. So they're not coming to you, well, I can get it, for $650. Well, yeah, you can get it for $650, but you have to collect all the money. You have to stock all the inventory. You're stuck with the bad sizes or bad colors, all the stuff they didn't sell. If we set up the store for you, there's no risk to you, and you're just going to get mailbox money, meaning, you're going to get a check in the mail, in 3 weeks, and you're not going to have to really do anything. Just let me do my thing. And, you will see higher profits for yourself when you set up stores. You can offer a wider scope of products. If something's not moving, you can just make an adjustment, add a new product, add a new color. You can steer the product mix in your favor. So you can throw some things into the store that maybe are really high profit margin. Maybe you bought some closeouts on white t-shirts, for $1 a piece, and you want to run those for $10, but you're still making $8, after it's all said or done. So, and then the store becomes your recruitment tool. If you'd like to find out about special pricing for NNEP members, book a demo at GraphicsFlow.com.